I think that's something that a lot of California natives kind of brush past. They always say we're thriving and things like that, but here in Southern California, the Mexican government put out a policy of extermination, and that was in 1846. They wanted to get rid of all the remaining village sites in the area that were living freely. And then during that time, we have the Mexican-American War starting to build up, and my family also took part in that war during the United States Marine Corps, and they fought in the Battle of San Gabriel, the Rio San Gabriel, which was along the riverbed, and that's where a lot of our family started to intermix with not only Mexican period, but also European descent. Um, Now we're going into the American period. A lot has already happened. We had the mission period, the Mexican period. So when the Americans came, they started to read a lot of these old documents that were promised between us, the Mexicans, and the Spanish. And of course, they were never, their word was never kept. So they kind of took over everything. They said, this is our territory now. You guys can't be here no more. And during that time, a lot of our people were already speaking Spanish because of the missions. A lot of them had to identify as Mexican. Some of our people even started to identify as Caucasian. And that was for survival. You know, during the American period, we weren't allowed to practice our culture. We weren't allowed to speak our language, to participate in our songs. And even until recent times, until the 1970s, all Native Americans were granted their religious rights again to start participating in their ceremonies.
Oh!
Today, to
Woo!
speak in our language, to be wearing our regalia, to be
Woo!
singing our songs, that's empowering for us as Native people, not just all
Oh!
Native people throughout the world. And the one thing that I kind of wanted to talk about is, despite everything that we've all been through, we still seem to be overcoming a lot of our challenges. Um, Now what I want to talk about is like kind of modern times of what the Gabrielino or the Tongva, the Quiche, however they identify with what they're doing. Nowadays, we have three tribal groups that obtain three parcels of land. One of them is in the Boca Chica area. The other one is in Pasadena. The other one is in Highland Park. And I think that might be it right now.
For now, yeah.
For now.
Yes. Oh!
We also have our own tribal, different tribal bands, their own sovereign nations as well. You know, everyone kind of respects each other's boundaries. We don't really get too involved with the politics. Um, I'll just keep it at that.
Oh!
But everybody's doing their own thing to help honor our ancestors. Unfortunately, we can never recreate what was done in the past because of what was lost during those years. But we're trying our best to recreate our ways of honoring our ancestors. And I think that's what's unique about today is, we're incorporating a lot of things that were lost. And we're also incorporating things that are new to the culture. Um, but other than that, I wanted to share a little bit about that information to kind of understand who the people are of this area. We also have our Hashiman neighbors who are known as the Guareños for San Juan Capistrano. But this village site specifically, Hudavi, meant the place of the views because of all the view sites you see up in the canyon. Another song that I want to share is actually a modern song, and it's actually a Crow song. The story behind this song actually comes during the 90s. There was a gentleman named Corbin Harney who was going all throughout the United States, and he was a Western Shoshone medicine man. And when he came into the LA Basin, he was talking to our people about this massacre site that he kept having dreams of. And when he came to the people, he asked, what the city looks like because he's never been there. So when the people brought him, he told him about this dream, and there was a refinery that was being built at the time. And he told them, this is where I seen the site was. This is where your ancestors are. This is where you need to rebury them. Well, the community didn't know much at the time of that specific location or what had happened during that, or during before that. And there was crows flying all the way around, and there was a coyote. And the people were paying attention to the coyote, and he kept walking back and forth looking at the people, and the crows were flying above him. Well, Corbin Harney said, I want to go over here. So he took the community over there, and he told the construction workers to stop what they were doing. And they were kind of caught off guard because they didn't know who these people were coming into their job site and trying to tell them what to do. Well, when they stopped, they found something, and of course they dug it up to see what it was, and sure enough it ended up being a mass burial site. And during that time, this is the birth of that song. And after our community reburied those ancestors, the coyote ended up passing away. And the way my uncle likes to explain it was the ancestors making sure that their people were reburied in a proper way. And in the song, it's talking about that, the crows being our messengers. And to us, Gabrielino people, it's interesting to see the similarities that we have with the North mythology, how the ravens and the crows were sent down from the heavens, and they gave us those messages. So this song is talking about those crows being a messenger.
Oh!
Another thing I want to talk about was the language. You know, our language, some people say it was extinct in the early 1900s. We like to say it was put to sleep.
Right. Hey.
And the history behind the language and how the name Tongva came about, there was people that were called ethnographers. They're going all throughout California and they're interviewing natives. And remember, during this time, this was in the early 1900s, us Native Americans were granted citizenship until the 1926 here in this country.
Oh.
So for a non-native person to go around and put this large device in front of your face and say, hey, I want you to speak into this. I'm going to record your language, your songs, your stories, and all that stuff. A lot of the people didn't feel safe, especially the people in Mission San Gabriel. So the mission told them, go out to Fort Tejon area. There's a reservation there. There's some Gabrielinos, and there's a mixture of other tribes put there.
Oh.
So this gentleman named J.P. Harrington went over there, and he talked to this one lady. Her name was Rosmar Narcisa Higuera. Again, there's been talk that she was a Tongva woman, but looking into her history and actually meeting one of the descendants, she was a Katanomuk and a Serrano woman. And she told the people of Mission San Gabriel were known as Toves Ganga, or that was a village site there, and that's where her mother was from. So J.P. Harrington put on his notes Tongva or Tongve, and that's supposedly the origin of the name. But with modern research, we don't know where that name actually comes from. Some people say it's people of the earth. But again, we don't know because it's not really documented in historical documents. But what is known, or what is documented, well documented I should say, is that we identified ourselves by our villages rather than as a whole or as a people. So that's kind of where the name Tongva comes from. But during that time, when the language was being recorded, she was supposedly one of the last fluent speakers. So when she ended up passing away, that's when they say the language kind of died off with her. But because of that, we were able to get access to the wax cylinders. My community in the 90s were able to petition, but they had to fundraise for a lot of money to get access to that, just to even listen to those recordings. And one of those songs that we actually got from that recording is a song called Doki Doki. And this comes from a woman named Juana Maria. If you ever read the book Island of the Blue Dolphins, it's based off of her story.
Oh.
And when the Russians, and that's another thing that people don't know about, the Russians were here in California as well.
Right.
For my people specifically, we didn't see them as a friend or an ally because they were pillaging the islands and they brought the Aleuts from Alaska. So there was a lot of warfare that was happening. And there's a few stories of our people doing naval warfare in our Teoks, fighting with the Russians and the Aleuts to get them off the islands.
Oh.
After they were done pillaging San Nicolas Island, where the story is actually based off of, there's a debate. One of them is that she had a child that she went back, or the other just she didn't want to be brought in with the rest of the natives. So she ended up staying behind, and we really don't know what happened during her whole lifetime being there, because after when she was brought back 18 years later at Santa Barbara Mission, a lot of people didn't speak the language, and that dialect that she spoke was the Nicoleño dialect. And then the people of Pimu, Catalina, spoke the Catalino dialect. So during that time, nobody spoke her language, and she would always go out and go to the waters, the ocean, and she would always sing a song. And the song that we got her song from came from a Chumash man named Fernando Librado. And he was a little kid when he would always watch her and sing this song. And that's why he remembered that song. Well, during her 3 months of being brought into the mainland, a lot of people were so fascinated and interested in this lone woman who survived on the islands for so long that they would come bring her gifts. She would be making gifts to give back to the people. Well, when she passed away, that's when that song came about. And the song is talking about her sadness of leaving the islands, but she'll be happy again when she's back with her ancestors and her family. And this song is called Toki Toki.
Yeah.
Thank you. How are we on time? All right. So I'll end it short because I know we got to prepare for our dance. But yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit about that. I know there was so much information to share. I would have been here all day, probably going into the whole weekend just to talk. But yeah, that's just who the Gabrielino people are. Again, I know you might know us as Tongva, Quiche, however you might know us as. We all come from the same ancestry. We all come from the same, environment. But I just want to share a little bit about that, of who we are. And yeah, hope you have a good time and welcome to the Acorn Festival.
Yeah.